Not only do we have so-called anti-racist activists wandering the university campuses of a majority white country that is Scotland to teach the students all about white privilege and whiteness theory and so on and so forth, preaching the good fight about equity but pretending it's all about equality, and drumming diversity and the myths of immigration into little children's heads. They're also being awarded for doing it. Yes, the woman who loves to talk all about whiteness theory has been granted an award by Helmet Head as they pose for a lovely riveting photo right about now. I mean, just give me a fucking break, seriously. Give me a fucking break. So, let's see what this says quickly. Blazing a trail for race equality in the teaching profession and beyond. Okay. With more than a dash of modesty, Kajida, an EIS, ULA and council member, received her much deserved award from Helmet Head, who visited Congress to warmly present 4 awards in recognition for the work of the union members in organising union learning, health and safety and equality before addressing delegates. Prior to collecting the award from Helmet Head, who later in her speech to Congress echoed the valuable role that equality activists play in our workplaces. Equality activists. What the fuck next? However, it is not this kind of limelight that Kajida chases. Rather, she seeks to shine the spotlight on many issues and inequalities around race. Of course. What else would it be? Women from BAME backgrounds and Muslim women are extremely underrepresented in trade union structures in Scotland. Now, of course, that stands to reason that would be the case because they're a minority in Scotland, a rather small minority for the time being. Thus, it would mean that the likelihood of these people being in these areas would be rather small. But of course, it must be racism, it must be sexism, there must be a glass ceiling, there must be justification for the so-called race and anti-racist activists to come and save the fucking day. Not only has she been unstinting in her support to members who frequently benefit from her expertise and insight, founder and chair of SAMEE, the Scottish Association of Minority Ethnic Educators, both of which play a critical important role in ensuring a genuinely inclusive education system in Scotland. And what the hell that really does mean, who the fuck knows? Part of her work as a lecturer, she teaches courses which include content on critical race theory, equality and discrimination. In her everyday work, she seeks to ensure the educators of tomorrow understand their vital role in promoting equality, challenging discrimination and valuing diversity in the classrooms and staff rooms, of course. Because that is what the educators of tomorrow need to know all about. They need to pick up the mantle and continue the good fight to promote this never-ending shit. Mainly Boundless Energy, Kajida has also undertaken important PhD research on teachers' experiences of racism in the education system in Scotland, highlighting a range of issues around structural racism. Well, immediately the claims of their important PhD research that was undertaken fall in a bit of scrutiny as far as I'm concerned. Every time so-called research is conducted by these people, the findings always seem to prove what these people believe. Their worldview is completely replicated within these findings, which I find hard to believe considering half of these people are chatting utter shit. But if that wasn't enough, to start talking about structural racism as if that actually means anything in this day and age, it's just a phrase that gets thrown about consistently and it never seems to be defined. And when these people are pressed to define what they mean by structural racism, structural inequality, the glass ceiling and so on and so forth, they come away with some pretty meaningless examples. Meaningless in the sense that they don't really back up the claims of a structural racist society or whatever it may be. Anyway, she's generously given her time to sharing findings with members at various events. The need to acknowledge and deal with the existence of white privilege. Just gonna grin and bear it. Just gonna grin and fucking bear it. In our society. Oh, our society, okay. And within the education system, or the white privilege within the education system, really impacting on people, students and teachers are like, oh yeah, it's the rampant white privilege that seems to affect students and teachers of colour. Of course it fucking does. The need to include learning that develops race cognizance within initial teaching education, the barriers, here we fucking go, that exist using the social and cultural capital in the classroom, that BAME teachers experience a concrete, oh my, I haven't even read ahead, and I literally just rattled off these examples as what they would suggest. They always say this shit. Is this your examples of structural racism, so-called concrete ceilings? With these findings in mind, what findings? The talking points that everybody regurgitates. Sparked your activism in the area of equality, it would have to be the collection of experiences such as the tragic events of 9/11. I question my identity, yada yada. I listened to the children in my class saying Muslims are bad people and felt I had to navigate these conversations around hate and prejudice sensitively, by teaching them about white privilege. So, in effect, you were unhappy that people were saying Muslims are bad people, so you created a course that kind of indirectly suggests that white people are bad people until they change their ways. Fellow BAME colleagues reaching out and sharing experiences and the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. This frustrates me to no end. It's enough I wanted to create a safe space for them. Fucking Jesus Christ. The EIS has been a key contributor to the creation of several recent briefing and guidance papers for our members, namely The Myths of Immigration. Oh, I might have known it was her that was behind The Myths of Immigration. Of course it was her. Oh yeah. That all makes sense now. Challenging anti-Muslim prejudice. Of course she's gonna come away with papers like that. You know, people that love to talk about how diversity is supposedly a great strength for our country, I really would love for them to justify how they come to that conclusion. When you see pish like this on a regular basis, be taught to no end about the myths of immigration. We need to be taught about our prejudice, our unconscious bias, and so on and so forth. And, it's a two-way street because, it's very easy to talk about anti-Muslim prejudice, but, there's plenty of reciprocation in that regard from Muslims directed at Christians and Jews and so on and so forth. But we can't talk about that. We're not allowed to talk about that because for some strange reason here in Scotland, Muslims are a protected class within society. The best way to move away from all these problems that you insist people that aren't white suffer from within Scotland, stop fucking talking about them. You know what I mean?